On this episode, Paintsville Lake, East Kentucky Tournament Trail. Stay tuned.
Happy Saturday to you. It is a frosty 30 degrees in Kentucky this morning.
So Paintsville Lake, probably one of my favorite events of the year on the East Kentucky Tournament Trail, just due to the timing. You know, it lined up this year in April, and that's one of my favorite months to fish Paintsville, or any local lake for that matter. You know, April seems to be the month that those fish fire, pre-spawn, the water gets up around 60 and things start happening. But I was mostly looking forward to Paintsville Lake because of a huge effort on behalf of the East Kentucky Tournament Trail to collect data on Paintsville Lake. You know, one of the things that you've heard me talk a lot about on social media this year is F1s and the impact we feel like F1s could potentially have in Kentucky. You know, when I popped up over the hill Saturday morning for this event, I just couldn't believe the number of boats that had showed up for a Paintsville event. You know, I would say typically we have 30, 35 boats in a Paintsville Lake event. The majority of us care about maintaining these fisheries, possibly making these fisheries better. So kind of to give you an idea of what's going on here with the data collection and the DNA swabs, you know, in this event of the East Kentucky Tournament Trail, our goal was to swab 50 fish and to send that DNA evidence off for analysis at Auburn University. You know, Stephen Barden, Major League Fishing, is overseeing this project. They provided us with the swabs. So just to give you an idea of what we did on this day. You know, Robbie McCann, a former college buddy of mine, we played college football together at Georgetown College for 4 years. You know, Rob is an expert in environmental science. He travels around the country teaching different classes and doing different seminars. But Rob also has led studies on the Ohio River, on the Elkhorn Creek, and other studies similar to what we're conducting here on Paintsville Lake. So it just so happened Rob's seen some of our stuff on social media, and you know, we started talking about, you know, him potentially leading this study and gathering the data, and he was more than willing to come down and get involved. You know, he's super excited about F1s and the potential of what he thinks they could bring to Kentucky also. But so Rob, his dad, and several other volunteers from Casting for Kids stepped up, and you know, they brought the tanks that they use in the Casting for Kids event, and they helped take care of those fish while Rob was able to measure length, girth, weigh the fish, and take a DNA swab for a few seconds on the tongue. And you can see that's what's going on here. But you know, Rob and his dad, they drove 2 hours, they came down, they fished for a little while, and spent about 3 hours in all together, you know, swabbing fish and measuring fish for this effort. So we can't thank Rob and his dad enough. Rob's a teacher at Harrison County High School. You know, if you live in that area and your kids are lucky enough to have him in class, they probably come home fired up about what he's teaching, because I'm sure he's great at it. But, you know, in that regard, we've met with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife twice now. We've presented a case for F1s both times, and we think we're being heard, but it's going to take time. Things don't change in terms of the mindset as it relates to Florida genetics overnight. So it's going to take time, and it's going to take a continued effort from anglers to ask questions, to present studies, and to present data and information like we have over the past several months to potentially bring the F1s to Kentucky. You know, the one... Oh. It's usually how I start Saturdays. Not you. I've been a bad influence. One of the things on this trip, it was cold. So you notice early in the morning, you know, we were dipping those rod tips, you know, trying to keep those eyelets thawed out. I've had several people tell me to try Vaseline, chapstick, even sunscreen on those eyelets, and that would help keep those from freezing up. So if you got any tips, hit me up in the comments. Hey, you know, it's cold on Saturday, check it out. Froze solid. I was like, what the hell's going on here? Locked up on me. Fish. Boat flip it. Boat flip in there. We got one little meaningless one. Yeah, it's a bonus fish. You know, we had the perfect weather, the stars aligned, and on this day, we happened to catch some fish. You know, one of the things that I do in these videos, and I've done it in the past, is I give up the secrets. You know, I tell you how we caught those fish, and I give you some tips about how we found those fish. You know, on this day on Paintsville Lake, it's pre-spawn. Most of us for pre-spawn, that means, you know, points, secondary points, offshore structure. These fish are sitting in those spots, feeding up on shad in preparation for the spawn. So in looking at this event, the very first thing that we felt like we needed to do was find the shad. You know, not just find the shad in terms of location, but also to determine the depth. You know, in this event, we fish different than everybody else. And when I say different, I don't just necessarily mean we threw the Alabama rig and other people didn't. Most other people were fishing 4 feet or less. We were fishing probably 10 to 12 feet, okay? So one of the things that live scope has done for me as a fisherman is it allows me to watch my retrieve or to see my cadence, and that for me in itself is worth the cost of live scope. So when I look at live scope, and probably most people who throw the rig, they're gonna fish that thing in 2 to 3 feet of water, all right? They're just gonna cast it out there and wind it back, all right? That's not how I fish it. What me and Mike have learned through the years is, number one, to target location of those shad, but also to determine depth. I can see the depth where those shad are sitting. Obviously, the bass are positioned based on those shad. So that being the case, you know, being able to identify depth and then to watch my lure on live scope, okay, that changes the entire game in terms of how we're fishing. So I'm gonna adjust my cadence or my retrieve speed based on the depth of those shad, all right? If those shad are sitting up there in 2 to 3 feet water like they were 2 weeks later, I may speed it up and I'll bring that thing back to the boat faster, all right? But the depth of those shad determines my retrieve speed. You know, also in looking at the rig, I don't give you everything here, and I don't think you should expect anybody to, but the details are in the swim baits. You know, certain brands swim better than other brands. Me personally, for 2022, I love the Scottsboro Yum, the Scottsboro swim baits that they put out this year. Those are some of the best swim baits on the market, in my opinion. They swim true. You know, I don't like when that rig's coming back and you got one kicking sideways or you got one not swimming like the others. I don't like that. That's something I have to fix. So, you know, that's another Alabama rig tip for you. Still. Shake that for 3-pounder. God dang, what a start this morning. Paintsville Lake, baby. So, you know, on this day, our goal was to fish the lower end. I like the lower end. I oftentimes throw, you know, big baits that look real. They look like, you know, the trout or the shad that those bass, I believe, are feeding on. But there are other ways to catch these fish at that depth than just an A-rig, okay? I think the biggest difference here in us and the way the other guys fished on this day was depth. You know, I believe those fish are just coming up. I believe those shad are just coming up, and that being the case, you know, they were sitting off a little deeper, I think, than most guys realize. You know, one of the reasons I like Paintsville Lake is because it can be the toughest event of the year. Typically, you know, 6-8 pounds, and you're sitting pretty on Paintsville Lake no matter what time of year. You know, on this day, Mike and I were blessed to be doing the right thing at the right time with the right weather. Like I said, the stars aligned, and we were able to go out and catch some fish. We had a little over, we had 1285 on this day, and you know, that's an exceptional bag for Paintsville any time of year. You know, when you look at the East Kentucky Tournament Trail, I think one of the things that is the key to being successful is, number one, you have to have 5 fish. You know, somebody in this group is going to go catch fish. No matter where you go, what Saturday, what time of year, somebody's going to go catch fish. So, you know, for us, one of the things that we've worked on this year and last year is always trying to get 5 fish in the boat and then to see what we can make happen. You know, on this day, what we wanted to do was hopefully have a limit early and then try to swing for something bigger with something a little different, or, you know, something a little larger profile. And, you know, on this day, we had to work, we had to grind it out. You know, Paintsville was a grinder.
the biggest one, ain't it?
Mike caught that 5th fish late in the day, and you know, you can hear me here. I felt like that was enough to do it. Like I said, you know, I feel like 8 to 10 pounds is a sack on Paintsville any time of the year. You know, and I felt like this fish gave us 13, 14 pounds. I big-eyed him a little bit. We just won. If they beat us today, Mike, they just beat us. And I told Mike, you know, here in the video, you know, that's it. That'll do it. You know, so it's a good feeling when you're sitting there in the afternoon and you think you've got.
I don't know if we got anything over 4, but every fish in there, all 5 of them are solid. 13 pounds maybe. I don't know.
That'll win it all day long, won't it?
I think. I don't know, Pooh Bear. Hey, we had 2 in the first hour and we went about 3 hours with nothing. I hope, man. We just don't have a kicker. They're all the same fish.
You don't need a damn kicker.
That's what I was thinking. That may be what it took today, just to be honest. A big red crankbait. What's got it? What's got it right now?
707 right now.
How you doing, Judge?
I'm fine, Jason. How you doing?
Good. This is awesome, isn't it?
Good to see you, yeah.
All these people. Do what? No, we got 5 about 3 pounds, but we got a good sack, I think.
But all in all, I just want to give a huge shout out to all the guys on the trail for showing up. We sampled 97 fish. We actually had those 3 other fish and they got away from us when we were collecting data. But we sampled 97 fish. We should have that data back this May from Auburn University, and we can't wait to reveal that. Please check out the Anglers for Improving Opportunities Facebook page. You can find all that information there as well as the data when it's released. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.
Come over here, buddy, if y'all want to see something.
Wait a minute. What you got?
You got every one bigger than 3 something? What was it, Johnny? 6. That nerve's going, I believe, going to weigh more. There's something about the same size.
They're all the same size. What's got it right now, boys?
7-7.
Just 7.
You're getting ready to blow that out of the goddamn water.
You got that big? You got that big.
Easy.
You got that big.
That's a good sack of fish right there. 13, 12.
12.93.
12.93.
Good job. Take them right down on the dock there.
Sack of fish, boys.
Good job.
Fix that, boys.